Have you ever felt like you're dating a ghost? One day she's warm, affectionate, all in, and the next she vanishes without a trace. You sit there refreshing your phone, questioning your worth, while she pulls the strings. That's not love. That's a power play. And the cost is steep. Your self-respect, your time, your emotional energy drained dry. Too many men live as pawns in someone else's game, reacting instead of leading. But here's the shift. You don't have to stay in that trap. You can break the cycle, take back control, and build something real. In this video, I'll walk you through 4 steps to outsmart women who play games with your heart. You know that moment when everything feels perfect. Yesterday, her texts were full of warmth, her voice soft, her laughter contagious. You went to bed thinking, maybe this time it's different. And then today, silence. No replies, no calls, nothing but a wall of cold air where yesterday there was fire. You stare at your phone, refreshing the screen, searching for an explanation that never comes. That swing, from affection to distance, from closeness to withdrawal, pulls you into a storm you never asked to enter. And before long, you're not in control anymore. You're reacting. You're guessing. You're trapped in a game. Step 1 is about understanding why these games even exist. Why do women play these games? The reasons are layered, and if you don't see them for what they are, you'll always feel like you're walking blindfolded. Sometimes it's a test. She wants to know if you're serious, if you're really invested, if your interest is more than surface-level attraction. By watching how you respond when she pulls back, she's measuring your commitment without ever asking the question out loud. Other times, it's not about you at all. It's about protection. Maybe she's been hurt before. Maybe trust was shattered in her past, and so she creates distance to shield herself from the same wound repeating. Then there are those who are uncertain within themselves. They don't fully know what they feel or where they want the relationship to go, so they send out mixed signals like smoke, hoping the confusion will buy them time. And yes, sometimes it is about control. When someone has power over your emotional state, when they can make you doubt yourself, chase harder, work to earn their affection, they hold the upper hand. For them, that control is intoxicating. But let's be clear. None of this feels like a game when you're the one caught in it. It feels like being a puppet, pulled by invisible strings, reacting to someone else's rhythm. You start questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Did I say too much? Not enough? You lose sight of the fact that this isn't about your worth. It's about her patterns. And the more you dance to those signals, the deeper you sink into the trap. Here's the shift you need. Understanding why these games happen is not about excusing them. It's not about saying, she's testing me, so I'll just endure it. No. Understanding is about awareness. When you see the mechanism behind the curtain, you stop being surprised. You stop letting it dictate your emotions. Instead of confusion, you bring clarity. Instead of reacting, you choose. That's the real power. Recognizing the strings without letting them move you. Step 2 is about recognizing the patterns without giving them the reaction they want. Picture this. You're having one of those nights that feels almost cinematic. Dinner is flowing, the chemistry is undeniable, and she's laughing at your jokes like you've known each other for years. You walk away thinking, this is it. This could finally be the start of something real. The next day, you send a message, expecting that same warmth to continue. Hours pass, no response. Evening comes, and still nothing. That electric spark you felt yesterday now feels like a cruel trick. The shift is so sudden it leaves you disoriented, like the ground has moved beneath your feet. This is how the game begins. Subtle, almost invisible, but powerful enough to hijack your emotions. Sometimes it's the roller coaster of mixed signals. One day she showers you with attention. The next she disappears as if you never existed. Other times, it's the sudden silence after a moment of connection. No reason given, no explanation offered. Or it's the little provocations, mentioning an old flame, casually flirting in front of you just to watch how you'll react. Each of these moves is designed to keep you off balance, to make you question where you stand, to trigger your instinct to chase. Here's the part most men miss. These games aren't random. They're engineered, consciously or not, to create tension in your nervous system. When she pulls back after showing you affection, your brain lights up with confusion and craving. Dopamine spikes, not when you get the reward, but when the reward is uncertain. That's why you find yourself glued to your phone, checking for her reply, replaying her last words, wondering if you said something wrong. The unpredictability doesn't push you away, it pulls you in deeper. And the fear of losing her, of watching that warmth vanish, makes you chase harder, even when you know you shouldn't. But here's the truth that should shake you. Love doesn't feel like a treadmill. If you feel like you're constantly running just to keep up, if you feel like you're always one step away from losing her, you're not in love. You're in a game. And the more you accept those games as normal, the more you hand over control of your emotional state. You stop being a man who chooses, and you become a man who reacts. The moment you recognize this pattern, the spell begins to break. Because once you can see it, you can no longer be fooled by it. You realize that the silence, the hot and cold, the little tests, they aren't reflections of your worth. They're strategies that only work if you bite. And if you stop biting, you take back the one thing she was counting on stealing: your focus. You've probably lived this moment before. She pulls back, and suddenly you feel a surge of panic. Your fingers move faster than your mind. One message, then another, then another. You check if she's online. You call when she doesn't reply. And before long, your calm disappears. The more silence you get, the louder your reactions become. And here's the irony. The very thing you fear, losing her respect, is exactly what your panic hands over on a silver platter. This is where most men stumble. They think the solution is to fight fire with fire. If she pulls away, they chase harder. If she's testing them, they try to prove themselves. But that's exactly what feeds the game. Games survive on reaction. If she can make you angry, jealous, or desperate, then she's in control. Not because she's stronger, but because you gave her the keys to your emotions. Think about it. Every time you lash out, every time you blow up her phone, every time you beg for answers, you're showing her she can move you like a pawn on a board. You're no longer the man leading his own life. You've become the man dancing to her rhythm. That's the hidden truth of these games. They aren't about love or connection. They're about power. And the one who keeps his composure holds the power. So what does composure look like? It's not cold indifference or pretending not to care. It's steadiness. It's the refusal to let someone else dictate your mood. Imagine the ocean. On the surface, waves rise and fall, storms crash and roar. But the deeper you go, the calmer it gets. The ocean never stops being the ocean, no matter how violent the weather above. That's what your emotional state should be: steady, grounded, untouchable. When you hold that frame, something shifts. She may test, she may withdraw, she may throw sparks to provoke you, but none of it rattles you. And that changes the dynamic completely. Because the moment she realizes she can't shake you, she also realizes the game has no effect. Power drains from the tricks she's used before, and suddenly the control is back in your hands. The strongest move you can make is not to fight harder, but to stay calm when she expects you to explode. That silence, that self-control, that unshakable presence, it speaks louder than 100 frantic texts. It tells her, and more importantly, it tells yourself, that you're a man who cannot be moved like a piece on someone else's board. You are the board. Step 3 is confronting the confusion with clarity. There comes a point when the confusion becomes unbearable. You notice the shift. Less warmth in her voice, fewer messages, a sudden coolness in the air between you. Your instincts scream at you to decode the signals, to run through every past conversation, to analyze every little change in her tone. You stay up late, replaying what she said, what you said, wondering if you crossed a line you can't see. It's exhausting, like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. And the more you chase answers in your head, the more lost you become. Here's the truth no one tells you. The guessing is the game. As long as you're stuck trying to interpret her silences and shifts, she's the one setting the rules. You're on defense, reacting to every move, bending yourself into knots to make sense of what doesn't add up. And that's exactly why most men stay trapped. They'd rather guess in silence than speak up with strength. But what if, instead of running circles in your mind, you brought the uncertainty into the open? What if, instead of decoding mixed signals, you confronted them head-on? Imagine sitting across from her and saying calmly but directly, "I've noticed some changes, and it's left me wondering where we stand. Can we talk about what's going on?" That one sentence flips the entire script. It takes the unspoken tension and drags it into the light, where it can't control you anymore. When you speak like that, two powerful things happen. First, you show maturity. You're not playing along with half-truths or hidden tests. You're choosing clarity. And second, you give her the chance to be honest. Maybe her distance comes from insecurity, fear, or confusion she didn't know how to express. Or maybe it does come from manipulation. Either way, you now know the truth instead of circling shadows. And knowing is always stronger than guessing. This is what leadership in a relationship looks like. Not dominance, not control, but courage. The courage to call out what's unclear. The courage to ask for honesty when it would be easier to stay quiet. Most men think silence makes them strong, but silence in the face of confusion only makes you weak. Words, when spoken with calm conviction, are the real strength. And once you claim that ground, you're no longer the man who waits for her signals. You're the man who sets the tone. That shift from reacting to leading is the moment the game begins to crumble, because no game survives in the face of direct, unshaken truth. Step 4 is protecting yourself with firm boundaries and being ready to walk away if those lines are crossed. There's a breaking point every man knows, but few dare to enforce. You tell yourself it's just a phase, that her silence will pass, that the games will stop if you just stay patient. So you endure. You let the unanswered texts slide. You swallow the sting of her flirting in front of others. You tolerate the hot and cold routine because you hope, deep down, that one day she'll see your consistency and reward it with the stability you crave. But all that happens is this. Each time you ignore your discomfort, you teach her that your boundaries don't exist. And once she learns that, the cycle only deepens. Boundaries aren't about control. They're about self-respect. They're the invisible lines that define what you will and won't accept, the standard by which others learn how to treat you. Without them, you're like a fortress with its gates wide open. Anyone can march in and do as they please. With them, you're not shutting people out. You're making it clear that entry requires respect. Think about it. When she disappears without explanation and reappears as if nothing happened, do you let it slide? When she tests your jealousy, do you laugh it off and pretend it doesn't bother you? When the games stack up, do you keep shrinking yourself just to hold on? Every time you say yes to what feels wrong, you're saying no to yourself. And that erosion of self-respect is the costliest game of all. Now imagine a different response. She goes silent for days, then texts casually as if nothing happened. Instead of rewarding that behavior with instant attention, you pause. You let her know calmly, "Consistency matters to me. I need that to feel secure in a relationship. No anger, no begging, just clarity. That one statement is more powerful than 1,000 emotional outbursts because it sets a standard. And here's the key. Boundaries don't just need to be spoken, they need to be enforced. If she crosses them repeatedly and you keep bending, your words mean nothing. But if you hold firm, you show her and yourself that your respect isn't negotiable. The men who fear setting boundaries believe they'll lose the woman by doing so. The truth is, you only lose the game when you abandon your own standards. Because a woman who respects you will adjust. A woman who thrives on games will resist. And that's when you face the decision. Do you compromise your boundaries to keep her? Or do you hold them and risk walking away? The answer to that question is, what separates men who get manipulated from men who command respect? The bottom line is simple. A man with boundaries cannot be controlled. He may bend, he may listen, he may adapt, but he never breaks. And when a woman realizes she can't bend you past your breaking point, the power of her games evaporates. There comes a moment when the weight of the game is no longer just frustrating. It's suffocating. You've tried to be patient. You've stayed calm. You've spoken directly. You've set your boundaries. Yet the pattern repeats. The warmth followed by withdrawal. The attention followed by silence. The endless cycle that drains more of your spirit each time it loops. You stand at a crossroads, staring down two paths. One keeps you in the loop, hoping she'll change, enduring the same roller coaster that's been breaking you piece by piece. The other demands something harder, walking away. Most men fear this step. They fear being alone, fear starting over, fear the sting of admitting that someone they cared for turned out to be a dead end. But let's turn that fear on its head. What's more painful? Letting go of someone who refuses to respect you, or staying tied to a cycle that slowly kills your self-worth? Walking away is not weakness. It's the purest form of strength. It's declaring, my peace matters more than your games. My self-respect matters more than your control. When you choose to leave, you reclaim the one thing every game is designed to steal. Your power to decide. You stop waiting for her texts. You stop craving her approval. You stop letting her dictate whether you feel valued today or worthless tomorrow. The silence that once made you anxious becomes your ally. Because in that silence, you find yourself again. You remember that you are not defined by how she treats you. You're defined by the standards you refuse to compromise. And something remarkable happens when you walk away with strength. The very games that once hooked you lose their hold. The fear of losing her fades because you've already chosen yourself. And once you've tasted that freedom, you'll never look at manipulation the same way again. You'll see it for what it is, a desperate attempt to control a man who doesn't know his worth. But you do know now, and that knowledge makes you untouchable. Picture this, you're no longer standing in her shadow, waiting for scraps of attention. You're standing tall, unshaken, looking forward to the kind of love that doesn't need tricks or tests to survive. The kind of love where you don't have to guess, chase, or compromise your dignity. The kind of love that exists because both people choose each other, freely and without conditions. That is the reward for walking away from the wrong one, the space to welcome the right one. The real victory isn't in outsmarting her games, it's in refusing to play them all together. And that's exactly why step 4 matters, because protecting yourself with boundaries and walking away when they're crossed is what ends the game for good. You've just walked through the 4 steps to outsmart these emotional games. You've seen where they begin, those sudden shifts that leave you questioning your worth. You've understood the patterns, how mixed signals, silence, and tests are designed to pull you deeper into confusion. You've faced the truth about reaction, how losing your composure hands over control. You've learned the power of speaking directly, of calling out uncertainty instead of letting it poison your mind. You've discovered the importance of boundaries, the invisible lines that separate respect from manipulation. And finally, you faced the hardest choice of all, knowing when to walk away and reclaiming your strength by doing so. This isn't just advice about relationships. This is a wake-up call about power, your power. Every game you refuse to play is another brick laid in the foundation of your self-respect. Every calm response, every direct conversation, every firm boundary is a reminder to yourself and to the world. I cannot be controlled. I will not be manipulated. I know my worth. Because the truth is simple. Love is not supposed to feel like a test you're destined to fail. Love is not supposed to drain you, confuse you, or make you feel small. The right woman will never need to play games to keep you. The right woman will meet you with consistency, honesty, and respect. And when you find her, you'll realize something powerful. Love without games isn't just possible, it's the only kind worth keeping. So now, the choice is yours. Do you keep living on the roller coaster, or do you step off and walk forward with clarity and strength? I promise you this. The moment you stop tolerating games, you make space for the kind of love that doesn't demand you sacrifice your dignity. If this message struck something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to this channel, share this video with a man who needs to hear it, and leave a comment with your own experiences. This isn't just a channel. This is a community of men who are done being played, men who are ready to wake up, stand tall, and take back control of their hearts. Stay strong, stay sharp, and never settle for less than respect.